Families like Balaram and Sheila in India face some pretty harsh realities. They even had to sell their land just to fund their son's journey, showing just how desperate they are for a better life. Now, when we think about Vikram's detention, it really shines a light on the risks that come with illegal immigration. There's this constant fear of deportation hanging over families, and honestly, policies from the current U.S. administration only make that fear worse. And speaking of stress, Vikram's parents are feeling the weight of it all, dealing with illnesses linked to the stress from their son's situation. This really underscores the emotional toll that immigration issues can take on families. Then there's Akasha's harrowing journey, which really shows the extreme risks of illegal migration. Think hunger, dehydration, and in the worst cases, even death. It's just heartbreaking to see how far people are willing to go in their search for a new life. As this unfolds, the demand for illegal migration services has skyrocketed from about 500 to a staggering 5,000 requests each month. That's a clear sign of the growing desperation among folks dreaming of a better life in the U.S. But it's not easy for law enforcement. They're struggling to fight against these clever smugglers who just keep dodging the law. That's why there are calls for stricter laws and even harsher penalties to help deter human trafficking. Now, the reaction back in India to images of deportations is pretty intense. People are feeling confused and concerned, trying to wrap their heads around the reasons behind these actions. Meanwhile, efforts to crack down on smugglers in India run into some legal hurdles. You see, preemptive actions can't be considered crimes until something illegal happens, which makes effective law enforcement a real challenge. For many people in these affected areas, migration is a huge aspiration. They often end up spending their life savings, and that desperate chase for an opportunity usually leads them into some pretty tricky situations. On the other hand, there's been a significant increase in demand for skilled labor in India, with some job opportunities seeing applicants shoot up from 500 to 5,000. It really highlights the urgent need for matching skills with available jobs. It's interesting to note that many Indian workers choose lower-paying jobs abroad, influenced by cultural factors like caste identity. This reluctance can really shake up the local job market and affect the available labor force. Political relations between India and the U.S. also shape how Indian workers are perceived overseas. Criticism of Indian leadership related to deportation policies shows there's a lot more going on beneath the surface. And we can't forget about the organized crime syndicates that are deeply involved in illegal activities, often linked with narco-terrorism. Tackling this is key if we want to seriously address immigration issues. On a brighter note, India aims to promote legal migration, especially for those educated individuals looking for better job opportunities in places like the U.S. through H-1B visa programs. This is definitely a positive spin on migration. But let's not kid ourselves, the deportation of unauthorized immigrants isn't just an issue for Indian migrants, it's something many nations grapple with. It points to broader trends in global immigration policies that vary with different political ideologies. Looking at Colombia, they managed to negotiate with the U.S. to ensure their citizens aren't sent back under harsh conditions, which shows a different diplomatic approach. It really makes you wonder what India could do in similar situations. At the end of the day, India's current economic growth isn't enough to keep up with its large population. This gap pushes many to search for opportunities abroad, and it's a clear reflection of the structural economic challenges that need tackling. Lastly, the presence of shady human smugglers exploiting the hopes of potential migrants is a serious concern. It's crucial that we improve employment opportunities in India to help put a stop to this kind of exploitation.